think there's a lot of people rooting for you just from what you've been through. Obviously being nominated for the Masterton Trophy is kind of bittersweet. Just your thoughts on what you've been through on this journey and what you're hoping for the end of it, and as far as the positive results, just overcoming all that you've had to overcome.
First, I just like to say thank you to all who had voted for me for that. It's honestly it's a true honor, and I truly appreciate the nomination, and I'm hoping to persevere and live up to that nomination and be back on the ice whenever that may be. I'm very, very thankful. I'm grateful for all the support, not just my family, my teammates, coaching staff, the organization has given me throughout this. It's been a long haul. It's taken as a lot of you guys know, and it's taken a toll for sure. It's been mentally, physically, it's definitely taken, like I said, taken a toll. So it's been a long road, and but I think that trying to keep things in perspective, that I'm still able to walk around and spend some time with my family, and starting to exercise again, and start to feel a little bit somewhat normal again. So I'm hoping to get back to 100% if and when that may be, and rejoin the team at some point, and get back to playing hockey.
Thanks, Millsy. We'll go next to Mike Loftus. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, Kev. How are you?
Good.
Good. Kev, I mean, like you said, we all know, we've seen what you've gone through. I mean, have there ever been any points in this, especially, like maybe this last stretch, where you've thought like, maybe this just isn't meant to be, and I mean, have you got to a point at times where you thought like you might just want to throw your hands up and say, it's just not going to happen?
No, I haven't got to that. I'd be lying to you if I wasn't worried that, hey, like, I don't know how this is going to end up. I'd be lying to you. But it's part of my job. It's part of my passion. Like I want to be healthy, right? I want to play. Like I know I can help the team, and it's a tough pill to swallow, like when you're showing up to the rink and you can't help the guys, and it's been so long since you've been able to play a game. But I haven't, I'm not losing hope on that at all. I'm if anything, it's kind of pushed me to push more, and to make sure that I'm doing it the right way, and to get back out there and try and get back to 100%.
Thanks, Millsy. Well, we'll go next to Jimmy Murphy. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Hey, Kev, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. And, congratulations on the nomination there.
Thank you.
I just wondered just your thoughts on everything you're watching from afar with, what's going to happen with the NHL return, and, what are your thoughts in terms of, can you think they can actually pull it off? And if so, why? And if not, why?
It's man, it's such a tightrope to walk. I think you're seeing it across all leagues, whether it be MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL, like whatever it may be. It's just a tightrope, I think. And, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, rightfully so, just given that how things are going. But I think I'm optimistic. I'm in Colorado right now. Sorry, my dog's barking. Hey, I'm in Colorado. I got a bunny over here. Come here. Oh, get. Yeah, I'm in Colorado right now. I'm not in Boston, so I'm not around the rink right now with the guys, and I think it's so I'm a little bit out of far, but I have been on the the PA meetings and things like that, and there is some optimism. I think that there's a possibility that they could pull it off, that it could happen here, but there's a lot of moving parts, and I think a lot of is going to have to go right in order for that to happen. I think the first and foremost, I think guys would like to make sure that themselves, the teammates, coaching staff, everybody and their family is safe and healthy, and that's priority number one. So if they can kind of iron that down and make it work so that that's the case, that would be great. And then from outside of that, I think at that point it becomes getting back to being able to get in shape and play here in the right time frame. So like I said, I think there's a lot of moving parts, and lot's going to have to go right in order to make that work. And I know the guys, and I am hopeful that that's the case.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll go next to Mick Colagio. Go ahead, Mick. Your line's open.
Thanks. Congratulations, Kevin, on
Thank you.
a gutsy career. And I'm not saying that in the past. I just mean it as far as the patience you've shown. Gord Kluzak is the only knee injury that reminds me of yours, just in terms of how many games he missed, full seasons at a time, and stayed with it for several years in his career and was rewarded with a veteran season that helped the Bruins get to the Stanley Cup and beat Montreal in the playoffs for the first time in 45 years. Kneecap, complications, all kinds of stuff like that. Have you ever talked to him or anybody else about who's had a similar injury to what you've gone through here?
I've never had the opportunity to talk with him. I have heard about that, and I've spoken with the few doctors that I've seen out here. One of I went and I had surgery out in Vail. Two of my surgeries out here, and the surgeon who's put me back together, he's done a lot of stuff for military personnel and guys that see certain injuries similar to mine that you wouldn't see in sports. To be honest with you, my injury was not a very common one, and then to have it break again is even more, I guess, uncommon. But I've had the opportunity to talk with him about some stuff and to hear stories of guys who've had similar issues or complications, and it gives me hope. And I wake up every morning, I do rehab, I do strength training, and with the intention of getting that knee back to 100%. And I sure hope that that's the case. And at this point too, my first and foremost is I want to be able to just, function normally here. And that's step one. And so I'm getting back to that. And then step two is to be able to do some things off the ice that I was able to do before. And then, get 100% off the ice. And then once I'm able to cross that bridge, then I think at that point I'll be able to put the skates back on and hopefully be able to go out and perform like I was able to. So that's my hope and my goal. And I wake up every morning trying to get to that point.
Quick follow-up, if I may.
Yeah.
With it's so incremental and professional now, how well players are brought back into the fray. At the same time, there's a mental aspect to this, and your game is so hard skating and physical. Do you anticipate a mental challenge once you are clear and able to play to get back your identity on the ice?
To be honest with you, I don't think mentally the identity is going to be, because I don't have another identity, to be honest with you, especially on the ice. So that's who I am. Who I am on the ice is who I am off the ice. Maybe a little softer off the ice, just to. But I think that's my kind of my bread and butter, and I don't think that I'm going to go out there and score 50 goals. But I think the biggest mental challenge for me is just getting, healthy between the years, right? Because it's taken some toll on me for sure. The physical trauma is also mental trauma. I'll be honest with you about that. So I think the mental side of it for me is just being able to, hey, I'm not injured anymore. That year and 4 months, year and 5 months, whatever it's been, is now behind me, and feeling 100% again is going to feel probably pretty abnormal to me right now. So I think that's probably going to be the biggest challenge.
Thanks, Millsy.
Yep.
We'll go next to Emily Benjamin. Thanks, Emily.
Hey, Kevin. Just wanted to know, do you have any sort of timeline of when you could return? Have doctors sort of figured that out? And secondly, what have the conversations been like with the Bruins about a future?
So we don't. It's so tough now because we're going on. My last surgery was the 4th procedure I had on my knee. So there's a lot that goes into that. To be honest with you, this whole COVID thing has kind of been a good thing for me. Just simply, bad in a couple ways, good in a few ways, in that, it's allowed me to heal without any real timeline. And that's kind of where I'm at now, is that, hey, there's no real timeline. I guess I haven't circled a date, and before I was circling dates, and now I'm not circling a date, and I'm just saying, like, hey, we need to get to that next point, that next mark. And I had an X-ray at the 3-month mark, which is a few weeks ago. Everything's looking good. Everything's moving in the right direction. We have a CAT scan coming up at the 6 to 8 weeks past the X-ray, so another 4 to 6 weeks, and that'll really tell where I'm at. And then from there, we can look at, I have to start strength training and getting back to that, and then eventually I'll be able to look at where we are on the ice. And to be honest with you, I haven't had any discussions with my agent. I'm sure my agent has had discussions with the Bruins. I'm sure they talk, and I just ask that I don't really want to know or deal with that right now. I just want to focus on getting healthy and off the ice, and then once I'm able to do that, then I could start to think about on ice stuff. And that's just my goal, is to get back to being 100% healthy off the ice, and then I can kind of worry about on the ice.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Millsy. We'll go next to Matt Porter from the Boston Globe. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for doing this.
Yep.
An off the ice question, if I could. Obviously, you've been a very visible and vocal supporter of the military and law enforcement, and one of the major things in this country right now are protests over police brutality. I'm curious how you've processed this. What's on your mind over the past several weeks with everything that's been going on, and seeing your teammates, kind of attend those rallies, talk about learning, changing, growing, and that sort of thing. What has the process been like for you?
I think first and foremost, I stand firmly behind my teammates, the organization, the statements that they've made, the courageous statements that they've made. That I think that everybody loves to hear and loves to see, that there is a conversation that needs to be had, and there is some change that needs to happen. And I stand firmly behind what happened to Mr. Floyd. In my opinion, it was extremely hard to see and disgusting to watch. You take the past of the officer out, you take the past of Mr. Floyd out, and you just looked at the act itself. I think it's just disgusting. And I think that, personally, I think that 99.99% of people in the United States and around the world saw that and are in total agreement with me. And they feel the same way that I do. And they saw that as an act that just can't happen and shouldn't happen, especially nowadays. And it's unfortunate. The time that we're going through, I think, is necessary to help have some real good open conversations and change. And also for me though is that I look at what happened to Mr. Floyd, and then some of the acts that happened afterwards with some of the riots and protests, and I think that the protests are necessary, and it's part of our First Amendment right. It says right in the Constitution that freedom of speech and your right to protest. And I think that I'm in full support of that. And I think that the majority of people that are protesting are doing it in a very good way. And I think that it's unfortunate that some of those protests have turned into riots and kind of clouded of what happened. And that's what is frustrating, is that 99.99% of people are all on the same page. They saw that and said, this is wrong, and we should all use this as a rallying cry to come together. And I think it unfortunately has gone the other way. And it's, in my opinion, it's become a divisive issue where it should be one where it brings everyone together. And I think as far as the military and police and first responding support goes, I don't view, in my opinion, one life as more meaningful than another. I think that what happened to Mr. Ford, like I said, was terrible. And then you see some of the acts that happen afterwards, where you see police officers and citizens being killed during some of these riots. And I just think that the value of life in this country needs to go up on all scales, race aside. I think the value of life and love for people and love for your neighbor and one another needs to go up. And that's just my view. And I try to, I don't, it's almost strange for me nowadays that you can't say one thing but be on both sides. You can't say I support Black Lives Matter, and I also support the police, and not be on one side. I think that is wrong. I think that it's unfortunate that that's the case, and I hope that changes, and I think it will, and I think people are mad, and I understand that, and they have the right to be mad, and I'm mad. Like I don't, I think like I said, a lot of people saw that, and that's not okay. And I think it needs to be, it should have been, I wish it would have been a rallying cry for real change in one direction, rather than saying you're either with us or against us. And I think it's unfortunate. And I hope and pray that it goes the other way. And I think it will. And because I believe in the American spirit, and I believe that people truly care about one another. And I think in some time it will, it's going to cause some really good change, like not just in our sport, but throughout the country. And I'm looking forward to seeing brighter days within that to come.
Thanks, Millsy. We'll go next to Fluto Shinzawa. Go ahead, Fluto.
Hi, Kevin. First of all, you mentioned step one, just getting healthy and normal in life. Can you just describe how you are? Can you walk around? Can you do stuff, or are you still limited in that sense?
Yeah, no, I'm Fluto, how you doing? I'm walking around. Like I've been walking around. So I've been walking around is okay. Standard walking, I've been able to get out and do some fun activities that I like to do, and that are very minimal on my knee, and just normal walking is okay. I'm going up and down stairs. That was a big issue for me for a long time, and I'm going up and down stairs somewhat normal now. Moving around pretty well in that case, and and I'm tying my shoes normal again, so that's a good thing, right? I'm putting one foot in front of the other, and like I'm able to put my jeans on how I used to be able to. So there's progress for sure. There's a long way to go, and I think that hockey's a very it's a very unique sport, right? Where we're super quad dominant athletes, and we put a lot of force down on the ice on a small piece of blade through each leg as you skate, and so there's a lot more to it than just being able to walk around, and so the gap for that was big and is getting smaller by the day, and I'm hoping to close that gap and get back to normal.
Okay. Then the second question I had was you mentioned the toll that it's taken on you mentally. I'm wondering, just I don't know if it's during the day when you're rehabbing, or maybe at night when you're done with your kids, or whatever, when the thoughts start running through. Are there some things that you start worrying about, give you concern, or what is it like mentally?
I don't think it's so I don't, to be honest with you, I don't worry that, hey, it's less of a worry as far as like, hey, is this going to be okay, or things like that. I think it's more like there is actual connection between physical trauma and mental trauma, right? So like when you have an injury and it persists this long, that it takes a toll between your ears. And I had, we had our son. He was born in January, so I had a surgery, or a procedure per se, in the beginning of December, and my wife's basically 9 months pregnant. We have a 2-year-old daughter at that time, and my son's on the way, and here I am on crutches, kind of struggling to get around. And so, my wife has our son, and we have our son, and it's tough to be there for your kids when you're not able to really do as much as you would like or you can. So be there for your wife, be there for your kids, be present. And so those are the type of things, right? So it's beyond just the actual physical trauma, but the trauma of, there's a lot going on my side, with family and whatnot, and that takes a toll, right? So wanting to be there for your kids, wanting to be there for your family, and I'm at that point now where I can certainly help around the house a lot more, and I'm looking forward to being able to do more of that. And I think that's one of the big aspects for me personally. It is that was the hardest thing to overcome.
Thanks, Millsy. We'll go next to Rich Thompson. Rich, I'm trying to unmute you. It's not working. You might
There you
need
go.
to. There you go.
Is that better?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
is with all the stops and starts you had during the winter, did the shutdown kind of take some of the urgency out of your rehabilitation?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I spoke a little bit on that. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
you know, it's kind it's kind of a blessing, right? But like, I don't want to say that like and be not sensitive to what's going on, because it's obviously, this is not good. But for me personally, I think that it was a little bit of a, hey, like, okay, there's no, like I said, I didn't circle a date, or I wasn't calling the doctor every day being like, hey, when can I do this? Hey, when can I do this? It was, more that, hey, all right, let's just spend some time focusing on healing and making sure that this is actually done correct. So it has, time has slowed down a little bit, and things have slowed down a lot. It was unfortunate because here's the good, right? The good with that came from it was that, yeah, there was no real rush in this whole thing. But, a lot of the bad is that after my surgery, I'm in Boston, and I really couldn't see any of the docs. I couldn't go do PT at the rink every day. I couldn't go, see my trainers or anything. So, fortunately and unfortunately, I've had a lot of the equipment at my house for a long time now. And so I was able to do a lot of rehab at home, which was good. But at the same time, it maybe pushed it back a little bit, maybe a week or so. Who knows? I don't know. But I think that extra time is going to pay dividends in the future, hopefully. And that's my goal.
A quick follow. Could you tell us who the doctor was in Colorado that performed the last 2 procedures for you?
Yeah, it's Dr. Preventure. So he actually was out in Boston for a while. He was with the Patriots. He helped us out of the Bruins for a while, and he's a specialist out in Vail. And I had communicated with our team doctor about my thoughts, and he was friends with him and knows him very well, and so he did the second surgery and fourth surgery on me, and did a fantastic job, and I couldn't be happier, and I know he was super happy with how things came out, and then unfortunately sometimes it's just, no matter how well things work, or how well things are put back together, that it just needs to heal the correct way, and that's hopefully on the path that we're on.
Thanks, Millsy. We have time for one more. We'll go back to Mike Loftus for the final question. Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry. So Kev, you're in Colorado. Are you there for the duration until you are like ready to start to, actually get into playing some hockey again? Or are you going to maybe, come back out to Boston, see your teammates, like during the camp, or visit them in the bubble or anything like that? Or
to be honest, most likely I'll be here. So that's one of the reasons why I came back out here, is a lot of the things in Colorado where I'm at, including the PT, were open way before Boston. And so I came out here with the intention of getting some more treatment and more hands-on rehab. The training facilities were open. I go see my trainer out here, or PT doc that go out here to do the exercises and some of the hands-on modalities. So I'll most likely be here for that. But I don't know how. I haven't really been like, hey, I'm not going to go back or this and that. But if the guys start get going and the playoffs start kicking around, I'd want more than ever to be around the guys and to cheer them on and support them. And that's, I don't see how I couldn't just watch on TV. That would drive me nuts. So I would want to come back and see the guys, and not put anybody in danger or health risk. So that's another aspect of it, right? So like, if I'm not playing, do you need me around the rink? Which stinks to say, especially with this COVID thing. And that's the question, right? So I'd like to come back and spend some time with the guys and be around the locker room. And if it's we get to that point where it's okay to do so, but my intentions are to get as healthy as I can here while I can, and then see where that takes me.
Great. Hey, thank you. Thanks for doing this, and good luck with everything.
Thank you, guys. I truly appreciate it. Again, for the nomination, it means the world to me.